So in this video, I'll be talking about mass and work. Integration becomes an important tool when we are trying to learn about mass and work because it is basically an essential part in physics. So, uh, so usually we are given since we have only learned integration in one dimension, where we are usually dealing with rods instead of, let's say, plates or any three-dimensional figure. We are will usually dealing with rods. So for however when the density is constant, when the density of a rod is constant, we know that the mass will be just density times the length. But when when the rod has a variable density that depends upon the length of the upon where we are basically inside the rod. So basically, if we are at some distance x, then the density here would be rho of x. Then the mass is given in mass is given as an integration from 0 to L, rho of x dx. So let's look at an example. We want to find out the mass of a rod of length 8 meters whose density is rho of x is equal to e to the power x kg per meter. So usually when you are dealing with units, you have to make sure that you are converting all the units in SI units. So for example, the SI unit of mass is kilograms. The SI unit of the SI unit of length is meters, and the SI unit of time is second, and so on. So that is what we want to do. So let's find out the mass of our the mass of a rod of length 8 meters and density is e to the power x. So the mass is equal to, as we can see from the formula, it is 0 to integration 8 rho of x is e to the power x dx. So we just need to integrate e to the power x and evaluate at these limits. So the integration of e to the power x is e to the power x, and we want to evaluate it at 0 and 8. So this is equal to e to the power 8 minus e to the power 0, which is e to the power 8 minus 1 kgs, because this was in meters and this was in kg per meter. So when you multiply and integrate them, integration does not change the units. So this is e to the power 8 minus 1 kg. So now we can study the more complicated object work. So we want to find out work done in different scenarios. So usually work is given as force into displacement. However, that is for forces which are constant. So but in cases in real world, the forces acting on an object are not usually constant, dependent on the distance or the displacement. So a formula for the work done when the force is variable is integration 0 to d f of x dx, where f of x is the force done at displacement x. F of x is force done at displacement x. Sorry, force acting at displacement x. So force needs to be a function of x, right? So usually the kind of problems we would encounter are either springs or some object hanging, some object with variable length hanging. So let's take a moment to realize what springs are. So usually a spring has a spring constant which is given, which is denoted by k, and its units are newtons per meter. And so basically what this k tells us that the higher the value of k, the more difficult it is to compress or elongate the spring. So when the force required to elongate or compress the spring is given as k, the spring constant times x, where x is the elongated length from normal length. So what I mean to say is that, so when you leave the spring undisturbed, it has a natural length, and when you elongate this spring from its natural length with the distance x, then x is actually the elongated length from the natural length. So if this is the natural length, we are elongating it with the next distance. So then the force required to do this would be k times x. All right. So let's look at an example. So a spring of resting length 15 centimeters, when elongated to a total length of 25 centimeters, needs a force of 10 newtons. So what we are trying to do here is that we are taking a length, we are taking a spring. So the spring is attached at this point. So this is a immovable surface, and the spring is attached to it, and well, let's say this is the resting length of the spring. So that means this length is 15 centimeters. All right. So and now we are elongating the spring to a total length of 25 centimeters. All right. So what that means is this whole length is 25 centimeters. So well, we know that to elongate it to a total length of 25 centimeters, we need a force of 10 newtons. So in order to find the work done, we need to know what the force is. But force is equal to k times x. But in the question, there is nowhere a mention of the spring constant k. However, this piece of information helps us in finding out what the value of the spring constant k is. All right, so we know that the force required is k times x, right? So we know that the force is 10 newtons, and we want to find out k, and we know that the total length of the spring is 25 centimeters, but this x is the difference of the length from the natural length. So this length is 10 centimeters, which is equal to x. So x is equal to 10 centimeters. However, we are given this in terms of newton, and this is in terms of centimeters, right? So we want to find out what it is in meters. So it is equal to 10 by 100 meters, right? So this is equal to zero point 0.1 meters. So k times x is equal to zero point 0.1. Then k is equal to 10 by zero point 0.1, which is equal to 100 newtons per meter. Right. So we have found out the spring constant k using the first piece of information. Now we want to find out the work done to pull to a total length of 25 centimeters. All right. So we know that we know that the force work done is equal to force times f of x dx, right? And where the displacement is d 0 to d, and displacement is d, right? So we know that f of x is equal to k times x. So k is a spring constant. So then the work done would be from 0 to whatever the length of the elongated spring, kx dx, right? So this is equal to k by 2 x squared. So this the integral of, so k is a constant, we can bring it out, and x dx is integration x dx is x square by 2, and we want to find out from 0 to d. And now we want to find out, we know that this x is the length obtained, the difference of the elongated spring and the natural resting length of the spring. So this is actually x. So we want to find out what is the value when this is equal to 10 centimeters, because we are given that this is 25 centimeters and this is 15 centimeters, right? So this has to be 10 centimeters, and so which is equal to zero point 0.1 meters. So we know the value of k. The value of k is 100 newtons per meter by 2, and d is actually this. this length point 0.1. So this is equal to x squared from 0 to point point 0.1. So this is equal to 50 times point point 0.1 squared newtons. So this is 50 into, well, this is 1 by 100, because this is 1 by 10, whole square is 1 by 100. So this is zero point 0.5 newtons, right? Oh, sorry. This has to be joules because we are talking about work done. So the work done is zero point 0.5 joules. All right. So let's look at another example of variable force. So the problem that we are given here is a chain of density 3 kg per meter. So this has a constant density and length 20 meters is hanging from a frictionless table. So how much work is required to pull it with a constant velocity? So maybe we can draw a diagram for this. All right, let's look at this chain, which is like this initially, and we are going to pull this on the table. So this is our table, and let's say we have pulled a length of x. So where exactly does variable force come from? So you have to realize that we are pulling the chain with a constant velocity. So that means at every point the forces on this, so the constant velocity means acceleration is zero, right? So constant velocity means acceleration is zero. So what that means is the acceleration of this chain is always zero. So the forces on, since we know that F is equal to ma, so that means the force has to be zero. Here the force is the net force. So that means the net force on this chain should always be zero. However, when we are pulling this chain, let's say if we have pulled a length of x, so that means we will have a length of 20 minus x still hanging, and the force on this part of the chain, well, this part of the chain is balanced by the table. There is a normal force that is balanced by the table, so we don't need to worry about that. There is a force here, uh, which is 20 minus x. Okay, so the length of this chain is 20 minus x. Then we know that there will be a different mass which is dependent on x, because well, the total, well, the mass is density times the length. So we have 3 times 20 minus x, which is the mass of this part of the chain, right? So when we are pulling, we need to make sure that we are pulling it with a constant velocity. So that means the forces on this chain should be balanced. So this mass is a function of x. So as we are pulling, x changes, so that is why the mass of the hanging part of the chain changes. So which means the force acting on it due to gravity also changes. Due to gravity also changes. So we have to, the force acting on this is 3 times 20 minus x, which is the mass, times the gravity, the acceleration due to gravity, which is denoted by g here. So that is the force acting downward. So the whoever is pulling, let's say I am pulling this chain, I have to apply an equal force of while pulling, so that this chain goes around with constant velocity. If I pull it with a greater force, there will be some net force and there will be an acceleration, so the velocity won't remain constant. And if I pull with slightly lesser force, this will start hanging down, so there will still be an acceleration here. So that means the force should be at, if there is a uh, x length you have pulled out of the chain, then the force should be equal to this 3 times 20 minus x into g. So I'll write this down. So mass of the hanging chain, hanging part of chain is, if we have pulled x length, if x length has been pulled, then mass of the hanging part of chain is, the length is 20 minus x times, the density of the chain is 3 kg per meters. So if this then we have to multiply with 3. So this many kgs is still hanging. So that means the force on the hanging part of chain is, the force on the hanging part of chain is 3 times 20 minus x into g, where g is the acceleration due to gravity. So therefore the force applied on this chain has to be exactly equal to this. If it is greater, then there will be some net force, and which amounts to some net acceleration. Then the velocity won't remain constant, it will increase. So if we want to pull it with a constant velocity, well, then the force on the hanging part of chain should be exactly equal to this. Force on the force with pulling force is equal to 3 times 20 minus x into g. So this gives us a variable force depending on the length we have pulled, right? So that means the work done is equal to f of x dx, where x is the length of the hanging part, sorry, the length which we have pulled away. So at the initial stage, the length which we have pulled away is 0, right? Because we haven't pulled the chain at all. And in the final stage, when all of the chain has been pulled, uh, when all of the chain has been pulled, the total pulled length is equal to the entire length of the chain, which is 20 meters. So this is equal to, so x goes from 0 to 20. All right, and now we know the where equation of the force. So this is equal to 3 times 20 minus x into g dx, where g is a constant, 0 to 20. All right, so what we need to do is integrate this function. So the work done is equal to 0 to 20, 3 times 20 minus x into g dx. So for my purpose, I will be taking g is equal to 10 meter per second square. In homeworks, usually g is given to be 9.8 meter per second square. This is an approximation, and this is the value that I'll be using. But if while you're doing your homework, you should be careful of using g is equal to 9.8 meter per second square. So the work done is 3 times, well, g is 10. So 3 times 10 integration 0 to 20, 20 minus x dx. So this is equal to 30 times 20 minus x. This is 20x minus x square by 2, 0 to 20. So this is equal to 30 times 20x is 20 times 20 minus this is 20 whole squared by 2 minus 30 times, when you substitute 0 you'll get 0 all over. So this is equal to 30 times, this is 400, and this is 400 by 2, which is equal to 200. So this is 30 times 200. So this is equal to 6000 joules. Alright, so we'll check real quick if everything is in SI units. Yep. Alright, so the for the hanging for a chain being pulled away, that is what you have to do. So let's look at another example of work done. So here we have a new kind of problem, water pumping problems. In this kind of problems, the the force is, uh, you can't actually calculate the force required. So that is because so the problem is usually this: you have some object in which water is filled, and there is a pump which is pulling with a constant velocity. And then we want to find out the work done by pump to empty the cylinder. Well, in this there is okay, force is applied by the pump to remove the water, but it is quite difficult to find out the what is the force being applied. So usually what we need to do is find out work done using this methodology. So we want to find out dw. So dw, like you write dx or dy, it is dw, which is a small part of work. So this is the work done on a small element of the chunk. So what we want to do is we want to take this cylinder, we want to find out a small chunk of water inside this cylinder. All right. And there is a small chunk of water inside it, and we want to find out the work done by this pump on this small chunk of water. So I'll say that dw is the work done on this small chunk of water, uh, and then we will integrate it with respect to whatever. All right. So that is what we need to do. So this small chunk of water will have, let's say, height dx, and it is at a height x. Then a dw will be some function of x times dx, and when we want to find out the work, we need to integrate this function. So that is what essentially we'll be doing. So there are two steps: find dw and find w using integrate by integrating dw. Right. So so let's look at this example. So there is a cylindrical container in which water is filled up to the brim, and the radius of the cylinder is 2 meters and the height is 5 meters. We'll take g to be 10 meter per second square, which is the acceleration due to gravity, and density of water to be 1000 kg per meter cube. It is different from what is usually used in the homeworks, but it is fine, you can change the value. And so the problem is pump pulls water with a constant velocity. We want to find out the work done by pump to empty the cylinder. So we'll for step one, we need to uh, divide this into small chunks of water. So let's look at this cylinder with radius 2 meters and with height 5 meters. So let's say that we are at some x height from the base, and let's look at this small chunk of water here. So this is like a disk which has height dx, and it is a disk. It's a very small cylinder with height dx, and it is at some height x from the bottom. So we want to find out the work done to remove this from this cylinder, to empty it from this cylinder. All right. So I'll write down the expression for dw. Okay, maybe. So we know that the work done on this small part would be whatever the mass of this small object is times gravity, acceleration due to gravity, times the height from which it has to be lifted. Right. I mean the height it has to cover to get out of the cylinder. So this is the height that we are talking about. Right. So right. So, well, the mass of this small chunk is the mass of the small chunk? We know that well, it is volume of small chunk times whatever the density of water is, right? So this the water is density 1000 kg per meter cube. So this is the density of water, right? So the mass of this small chunk is volume times the density of water. So well, its volume is pi r square. So the volume of a small cylinder like this would be pi r square times h, but height is dx, right? So height is dx, and uh, times, so 1000 is the specific density of water. So this is equal to 1000 pi r square dx kgs. The mass of the small chunk is equal to 1000 pi r square dx. All right. Now we need to find out the work done. So the work done would be actually to uh, you have taken the small chunk of height dx at a height x, and the whole height is 5 meters. So that means this height is equal to 5 minus x. And what the pump is doing is it is slowly taking out of this cylinder, right? So well, the work done is mgh. So this is equal to the mass of this, which is 1000 times pi r squared dx times gravity, acceleration due to gravity, g. And the height is the height is actually the height, the displacement of this small chunk, right? So this is the work done is force into displacement. That is what we are talking about. uh, so the force on this small chunk is mg, the force due to gravity. And the pump is working against this gravity, applying an equal force, because the velocity of this water has to remain constant. So it has to apply an equal and opposite force in this direction, so as to pull it slowly with constant velocity and put it out. So the displacement would be this 5 minus x, right? The work done is 1000 pi r square dx. So we can write this down in this way: 1000 pi r square g times 5 minus x dx. So these are all constants, because r is the radius of the cylinder, which is a constant, 2 meters. Pi is a constant, 1000 a constant. G is the acceleration due to gravity, which is 10 meter per second square, which is also constant. All right, and now and 5 minus x dx. So for step 2, we need to find out the work done. Then the work done is simply the integration of dw. So this is equal to 1000 pi r square g 5 minus x dx. And now let's look at dx. All right, so we want to put the limits, but we are integrating with respect to x. So that means we want to put the limits of x. So let's look at x. How does x vary? X is the height of this small chunk. So the small chunk could be here or it could be here, anywhere. So x has to vary from 0 to 5, right? So x has to vary from 0 to 5. So all we need to do is just integrate this function. So well, we can bring out 1000 pi r square g, and the integration of 5 minus x from 0 to x. So this is equal to 1000 pi r square g. So this is 5 minus x. So the integration would be 5x minus x square by 2 from 0 to 5. So this is 1000 pi r square g times 25 minus 25 by 2. So this is equal to 1000 pi r square g times 25 by 2. And now we can substitute all the values. So 1000 pi is 3.14, r is 2, the radius of this cylinder. So r square is 4 and g is 10 and 25 by 2 is 25 by 2. So this is 2 times 2. So this is equal to yeah, well, this is equal to 25 to the 50. 50 times 3.14 times 10,000. Yeah, well, whatever. So this is equal to 5 was a 20, 5 was a 2 7, 5 is a 15, 15.7 into 10,000. Yeah, so it is 1.57 into 10 to the power 5 joules. So that is the work done to remove this, to empty this cylinder. So now let's look at another problem. So in this problem, we are given a pyramid, and well, this pyramid has a square base like this of 100 meters and 100 meters, and the height is also 100 meters, right? So the first question that we are asked is find the cross sectional area at a height h, at a height h. And the next question we are asked is if density of rock is rho kg per meter cube, find work done to build the pyramid. All right, so we want to find out the work done to build this pyramid. So what we want to do is, all right, first we want to find out the cross sectional area at a height h. So we need that because it will be useful in finding out the work done. So this is our pyramid, and let's say we are at a height h from the base, and so there will be a cross section like this, right? And we want to find out the area at this cross section. Area of this cross section is equal to what? So this is our height, and we are at a height h from the base. So how do we find this out? So if you can imagine a pyramid on this paper, let's look at this pyramid, something like a triangle. uh, so we know that this height here is perpendicular to this plane, right? And it is kind of a bisector to this to this line which is parallel to this base. All right, so I'm looking at and suppose this is the line that runs from the top to the connecting to this bisector of this plane, right? So we are looking at this triangle in this way, and let's say you are at a height h. A similar triangle can be drawn here like this. So this height is h, and so since we know that this hole is 100 meters, so this line parallel would also be 100 meters. So that means this length is 50 meters. And now to find out this area, we need to find out what the length of this side is. So the length of that side will be equal to where this line, which is this line, meets to this bisector, right? So this length is equal to this length. So if we can find out this length would be the double of that, because this line perpendicularly bisects it. So that means if we want to find out this length, to find out this whole length. So this length, how do we find it out? Well, let's look at these two triangles, this and this. So there are two triangles, this and this. So these triangles have the same angle, equal to be this 90-degree angle, and this angle is also the same in both of them, this and this, right? So that means using a property, that is two angles are equal, these two triangles have to be similar. So when we have two similar triangles, the ratio of their sides are equal. So that means this by this is equal to this by this, right? So if we are at a height h, then this height is equal to 5 minus h, because this hole is 5 meters, and this is equal to I don't know, 50 meters, right? Oh, sorry, this is not 5, this is 100. So this would be 100 minus h, and this height is 50 meters. So that means 100 by 50 is equal to 100 minus h by, let's say this is equal to x. So what we want to do is find out x and double it, so that we have found out the side of this square. All right, so we know that this base is a square, so any cross section would also be a square. So that means 2 is equal to 100 minus h by x. So that means x is equal to 100 minus h by 2. So that is like the length of half of this side, which is x. So that means length of side of cross section square at height h is equal to 2 times x, which is equal to 2 times 100 minus h by 2. So this is equal to 100 minus h. So that is the length of the side of this cross section, and we want to find out the area of this cross section. So that means the area of this cross section is, equal to side squared. So this is equal to 100 minus h, 100 minus h whole squared. So that is the area of this cross section. So if the height was different, if the total height was different, if it was, let's say, 200, then here instead of 100 minus h, you would have 200 minus h, and here instead of 100 you would have 200, and the ratio would be totally different. So you have to work it out depending on the dimensions of the pyramid, right? But for this pyramid, this is how it works. If the dimensions are these, right? So we have found out the cross sectional area. Now we want to find out the work done to build the pyramid. Now we all know that pyramid is a, I don't know, it's a it's one of the seven wonders of the world, and we are going to do something really good here, finding out the work done to build this pyramid. Right, so this is the pyramid that we want to build, and how are we going to build it? We are going to take a rock and, lay it over, lay the base, and then take another rock and put it on the top of this, and make another rock and put it on top of this, and so on, until we have finally built the pyramid. But the trick here is that at every height h from the base, the area of the area would be different, right? On the top it decreases, and on the bottom it is the maximum. And as you can see from the formula here, it depends on h, the height from the base. All right. So that means to lay this small piece of chunk on top of another, on one top, on the top of this, it would depend on what height we are at, what height of the pyramid are we. So that means the work done is a variable kind of thing on different heights. So that means this is just similar to the water pumping problem. All right. So the steps for in the water pumping problem is, first find dw, which is the work done on a small piece of chunk. And then find the total work, which is the integration of dw. All right. So we want to find out work done on a small piece of chunk. Now, so the chunks are these cross section areas at different heights. So let's say you want to build a pyramid, and you are at a height, and you have already built up to the height h. All right. So we have built this pyramid up to a height h. Then now, if I want to place a rock of height dh, and whose area of cross section is this, uh, well, then since dh is so small, it is just like a cube, right? This is the cube that we are placing here on at height h. It has this cube has height dh. Its area of cross section is a function of h, which we have already found out, 100 minus h whole squared. And now what you want to do is, you have built this stone of this rock of the appropriate dimension, so that it can fit on the top of this. And you would of course lift it from the ground and put it here, right? uh, so that means this has to be lifted up to a height h from the bottom. So then so you have to work against the force of gravity. But let's say you want to do minimal work, so that means you have to apply exactly the force required to, you know uh, the force of the gravity, so that you can move it with zero velocity and put it here. I mean, within infinitesimal velocity and put it here. So that means you are working against the gravity. Then the force on this block is actually the force of gravity on this stone is the area of, well, it's the mass times acceleration due to gravity, right? So what is the mass of this? It is the volume times density of rock times g, right? And what is the volume? The volume is 100 minus h whole square into dh, because this area of cross section is 100 minus h whole square, and its height is dh. So that means the volume is 100 minus h whole squared dh, times, well, the density of the rock is rho, we are given that in the problem, and g is g. So this is equal to 100 minus h whole square, rho g dh. All right. So this is the, I'm sorry, yep, this is the force of gravity. And now you want to place this rock from, you have to place this rock from the bottom, from the ground, to a height h. Then the work done is force into displacement. So that means the force is 100 minus h whole squared rho g dh. So I'm like dh here. And displacement is well, the displacement is the height h, right? You're going from ground to a height h, so that means this is the displacement. Usually gravity is a conservative force, so that is why it doesn't matter if you are like moving it horizontally and then placing it on top. For gravity you just need to consider this vertical displacement. So that is why this is 100 minus h whole square rho g h dh. So this is dw, the work done on a small piece of chunk. Small chunk. So now what you want to do is find find this total work done by integrating dw, right? So dw is equal to 100 minus h whole squared rho g h dh, right? And now we want to find out the work done. So I'm going to draw this pyramid once again and for the last time, hopefully. And we are at a height h here. This is at a height h from the base. Then work done is equal to integration of dw, which is equal to integration 100 minus h whole squared rho g h dh. And well, where does h vary from? H is the height at which we are building this pyramid. So h goes from the ground to the top of this pyramid. So this height is 100 meters. So h goes from 0 to 100. And whatever this integration is, that many joules is our work. All right. So this is equal to. So I'm going to bring out rho g because they are constants. 0 to 100, 100 minus h whole squared times h dh. So how do we integrate this function? We can take 100 minus h whole squared equal to t, then 2 times 100 minus h minus dh is equal to dt. So that means minus 200 plus 2h um, dh is dt. Okay, maybe it is better that I don't know. It is better that we just expand this polynomial. So this is equal to 100 square plus h square minus 2h times h dh. So this is equal to rho g integration 0 to 100. 100 square plus h 100 square h plus h cube minus 2h square dh. So this is equal to rho g 100 squared h square by 2, and you're going to put 0 to 100 plus h4 by 4, again 0 to 100 minus 2 by 3 h cube, 0 to 100. So so whatever this answer is in joules, that is your final answer, right? So that's it.